Cole Matthews had built his life on the rugged plains of Texas, raising cattle, commanding respect, and surviving storms, both on the land and in his soul. But the fiercest storm had taken his wife 2 winters ago, and since then, the house had fallen into a kind of silence that even the wind couldn't fill. Each morning he rose before dawn, fed the livestock, and kept the ranch running like clockwork. To anyone else, he looked like a man still in charge. But inside, the once proud cattle baron was slowly shrinking into his grief. He barely spoke unless it was to his horses or the occasional ranch hand. Meals became an afterthought, cold beans, stale bread, and memories that lingered longer than the food. The kitchen, once filled with laughter and the smell of fresh cornbread, now sat hollow, a painful reminder of what he'd lost. Still, he told himself he didn't need companionship. Just a cook. Someone to take care of the meals and leave him be. So he wrote a simple ad, cook needed. Room and board provided. No flourishes. No promises. He pinned it on the town bulletin board and returned home, never expecting more than a pair of old hands and a worn apron to show up. The ad wasn't an invitation, it was a bandage. He didn't want anyone to talk to him about healing. He just wanted to eat without remembering. But sometimes, life doesn't send what we ask for, it sends what we truly need. The sun hung low, casting long shadows over the dusty path that led to Cole's ranch gate. He had almost forgotten about the ad he'd posted, until he saw a figure approaching, not the older man with calloused hands he imagined, but a woman. Young, though wearied by life, with a tattered duffel over one shoulder and a small boy clinging tightly to her other hand. She stepped forward, her voice barely above a whisper but steady with purpose. "I can cook," she said, eyes locked on Cole. "And I need a place for my son." Her boy, no older than 6, peeked out from behind her, eyes wide and searching, quiet, observant, and somehow, familiar. Cole's instinct was to shut the gate, to send them back down the road. This wasn't what he asked for. He needed simplicity, not complications. But something in the boy's expression, the same mix of fear and hope he'd once seen in his own son, struck him deep in a place he'd tried hard to bury. He looked at Emma again. She didn't beg. She didn't plead. Just stood there with a pride that had clearly taken hits but still held its shape. He gave a single, curt nod. "Come on," he said, turning toward the house. He didn't look back, but he heard the soft crunch of boots behind him, and the quiet breath of a woman who hadn't exhaled in a long, long time. The kitchen, once cold and silent, began to breathe again. The clatter of pans, the smell of biscuits in the oven, the soft hum of a lullaby Emma sang while stirring stew. It all filled the air with something Cole hadn't felt in years, life. Emma moved with quiet grace, her hands steady, her eyes focused, but it was her laughter, light and real, that stirred something deeper in him. And then there was Noah. The boy had a curiosity that couldn't be tamed. He trailed behind Cole in the mornings, mimicking his stride, asking about branding irons and cattle feed with wide-eyed wonder. At first, Cole answered with short grunts, but over time, his words grew longer, warmer. One morning, without thinking, he handed the boy a rope. "Like this," he said, showing him a lasso trick he hadn't done since his own son. Memories came flooding back, not with pain this time, but with a strange sense of peace. The ranch no longer felt like a museum of ghosts. It was becoming something else. A home, maybe. That night, as stars scattered across the sky, Cole leaned on the porch rail and watched the moonlight wash over the barn. He thought of the little boy curled up inside, tired from a day of chasing calves and chasing dreams. And with a gruff chuckle and a catch in his throat, Cole whispered to the wind, "You're sneaking into my heart, kid, and I don't mind it one bit." Thunder cracked across the Texas sky as the storm swept in without mercy, howling winds, blinding rain, and the unmistakable panic of cattle breaking free. Cole barked orders to his ranch hands, trying to restore order, but then Emma's scream tore through the chaos. Noah! Noah's gone! The word sliced through Cole like lightning. His heart dropped. Without a second thought, he grabbed his coat, leapt onto his horse, and charged into the night. Rain stung his face, but he didn't slow. He searched the fields, the sheds, shouting the boy's name into the storm. Then, through the sheets of rain, he saw the barn door hanging open. Inside, in the far corner, huddled in the straw, was Noah. Soaked and shaking, arms wrapped protectively around a frightened calf. His small voice broke through the thunder, didn't want it to be alone. Cole froze. That tiny act of kindness, that big heart in such a little boy. It shattered him in the best way. He stepped forward, kneeling in the straw, and wrapped his coat around them both. His voice, rough but gentle, trembled as he said, "Neither do I, son. Neither do I." In that moment, under a leaking roof and flickering lantern light, the storm inside Cole quieted, for the first time in years. The morning sun crept over the horizon, casting a golden glow across the drenched land. The ranch, battered by the storm, stood steady, fences bent, but not broken. On the porch, steam curled from mugs of hot coffee, and a rare stillness settled between Emma and Cole as they watched the light return to the world. Emma turned to him, her voice quiet but full of something new, hope. "Still need a cook?" Cole looked at her, truly looked, and for the first time in years, he let the past fall away. His smile came slowly, like the dawn itself, softening the hard lines of his face. "I need more than that, if you'll stay." Her eyes welled up, but she nodded without hesitation. There were no promises spoken, no grand declarations, just a deep knowing between two people who had walked through pain and found each other on the other side. Just then, Noah burst through the door barefoot, hair still messy from sleep. Laughing, he ran straight into their arms and grabbed both their hands, his little voice shouting, "We made it through the storm." Cole and Emma laughed, and this time, it wasn't bittersweet, it was full, free, and real. And under that vast Texas sky, as the sun rose higher and the world began again, three once lonely hearts quietly became a family. Not by blood, but by choice, and by the healing power of love, found when it was least expected.